What's up, guys? I'm hanging out here, so I got a little time. I want to talk about a quick technique you can use to ace any medical studies or any new information that you come across. So what is this simple tactic? The name of it is what I like to call the why because tactic. This tactic is so good and it's rooted in science. Basically, the name for it is called elaborative interrogation. This is just a fancy way to say that whenever we learn new information, we have to find a way to make it stick, to transform our minds to new ways of thinking. In fact, Einstein has a great quote that goes along with this when he says, "We cannot solve problems by using the same type of thinking we had when we created them." So in order to upgrade our thinking and our understanding, all we have to do is ask why when we come across any type of new information. And then we follow it with a statement that leads with the word because. Now, you may have known about this tactic, but it's great to come back across it as a refresher. In fact, it was brought to my attention in a book that I read a while back called How to Study in Medical School. And the author has a dedicated chapter on this technique and how the use of the why because tactic can rapidly facilitate your understanding of new information. This is a key factor because at the MD or the DO level, you can't just rely on rote memorization, especially if you're preparing for or sitting for the USMLE. You need to know why things work because you will be presented with new situations in which you have to apply a deeper level of understanding. So for example, you're never going to see a standard question that just says, should you give a calcium channel blocker to a patient with Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome? Instead, what you're going to see are second or third order level questions. Or like on the USMLE, you're going to have a complete case study vignette where you're going to have to know the mechanism of action for calcium channel blockers and how they apply to the specific case. Let's look at a few medical examples from the book and we can see how simple yet effective this why because tactic is. All right, so here's the good chart that I made from the book. So if we take a biochemistry example, which also relates to a clinical setting, you could simply make a statement that says, don't give glucose to a hypoglycemic alcoholic. Well, that's just a statement that you may have to memorize outside of any contextual understanding. Instead, if you use elaborative interrogation, you do the why because technique, the statement would then read, don't give glucose to a hypoglycemic patient because the buildup of NADH further pushes pyruvate towards lactic acid. Knowing why you don't give glucose will help you remember it a lot easier. All right, let's take an anatomy and a radiology example now. So you could simply just say a statement like, you get rib notching with aortic coarctation. The better technique to help you remember this and understand it for almost any situation is to say this. You get rib notching with coarctation of the aorta because the backed up blood, the collaterals, go through the internal thoracic arteries which feed into the anterior intercostal arteries. All right, guys, so there you have it. Just a simple and quick yet powerful technique on how you can learn new information in medical school or to apply it to any new subject that you're trying to learn. And now I'll leave it with you. How can you apply the why because technique to anything that you're learning? And if these types of learning techniques are of interest to you, be sure to check out the video on the end card where I talk about 6 books that will help you master anything fast. All right, guys, thanks for watching. If you got value from the video, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.